Hello, my dear kids. Today we are going to study the first lesson of the first term, which is Rikki, Tikki, Tavi, written by Rudyard Kipling. Before proceeding the lesson, let's move on to the objectives of the story. At the end of the story, students will be able to get to know about the key information about the author, explore the literal meaning of the story, to identify the main theme of the story, express the critical analysis of the story, and to understand the structure, language, and the other literary devices of the story. Now let's focus on to the background of the story. Rikki, Tikki, Tavi is a short story in the 1894 anthology The Jungle Book, written by Rudyard Kipling. Rikki, Tikki, Tavi is a brave mongoose who keeps a human family and a number of animal friends safe from the vicious, murderous cobras who slither through the garden. Here in the story, we can find out a human family consists of a mother, father, and a small boy named Teddy. And also we can find out two characters named Nag and Nagaina. They are husband and wife cobras. And Darcy's and his wife, two tailor birds, can be found when we are reading the story. Let's pay attention about the author. Joseph Rudyard Kipling was an English short story writer, poet, novelist, and a journalist. He was born in India and educated in England. Some of his famous work during this time included The Jungle Book, The Nolhaka, and The Second Jungle Book. Over his last few years, Kipling suffered from a painful ulcer that eventually took his life in 1936. Now we can pay our attention for the characters that we can find out when we are going through the story. Rikki, Tikki, Tavi, Teddy, Teddy's father and mother, Nag, Nagaina, Darcy, Darcy's wife. Here we can categorize these characters, Rikki, Tikki, Tavi as the protagonist and Nag and Nagaina, they are the antagonist of the story. And also Teddy, Teddy's father and mother, Darcy, Darcy's wife can be categorized as minor characters of the story. Now let's move on to the story. Rikki, Tikki, Tavi from the Jungle Book by Rudyard Kipling. Rikki is a mongoose who lives with Teddy and his family. Nag, the cobra, is dead, and Nagaina, his wife, wants revenge on the family. With the help of Darcy, the tailor bird, and his wife, Rikki sets out to hunt down Nagaina. Darcy was a feather-brained little fellow who could never hold more than one idea at a time in his head. And just because he knew that Nagaina's children were born in eggs like his own, he didn't think at first that it was fair to kill them. But his wife was a sensible bird, and she knew that cobras' eggs meant young cobras later on. So she flew off from the nest and left Darcy to keep the babies warm and continue his song about the death of Nag. Darcy was very like a man in some ways. She fluttered in front of Nagaina by the rubbish heap and cried out, "Oh, my wing is broken. The boy in the house threw a stone at me and broke it." Then she fluttered more desperately than ever. Nagaina lifted up her head and hissed, "You warned Rikki Tikki when I would have killed him. Indeed and truly, you've chosen a bad place to be lame in." And she moved toward Darcy's wife, slipping along over the dust. "The boy broke it with a stone," shrieked Darcy's wife. "Well, It may be some consolation to you when you are dead to know that I shall settle accounts with the boy. My husband lies on the rubbish heap this morning, but before night the boy in the house will lie very still. What is the use of running away? I am sure to catch you. Little fool, look at me. Darcy's wife knew better than to do that, for a bird who looks at a snake's eye gets so frightened that she cannot move. Darcy's wife fluttered on, peeping sorrowfully and never leaving the ground, and Nagaina quickened her pace. Rikki Tikki heard them going up the path from the stables, and he raced from the end of the melon patch near the wall. There, in the warm litter about the melons, very cunningly hidden, he found 25 eggs about the size of a bantam's egg, but with whitish skin instead of shell. I was not a day too soon, he said, for he could see the baby cobras curled up inside the skin, and he knew that the minute they were hatched they could each kill a man or a mongoose. He bit off the tops of the eggs as fast as he could, taking care to crush the young cobras, and turned over the litter from time to time to see whether he had missed any. At last there were only 3 eggs left, and Rikki Tikki began to chuckle to himself when he heard Darcy's wife screaming. Rikki Tikki, I led Nagaina toward the house, and she has gone into the veranda. And oh, come quickly, she means killing. Rikki Tikki smashed 2 eggs and tumbled backward down the melon bed with the 3rd egg in his mouth, and scuttled to the veranda as hard as he could put foot to the ground. Teddy and his mother and father were there at early breakfast, but Rikki Tikki saw that they were not eating anything. They sat stone still, and their faces were white. Nagaina was coiled up on the matting by Teddy's chair, within easy striking distance of Teddy's bare leg, and she was swaying to and fro singing a song of triumph. Son of the big man that killed Nag, she hissed, stay still. I am not ready yet. Wait a little. Keep very still, all you 3. If you move, I strike. And if you do not move, I strike. Oh, foolish people, who killed my Nag? Teddy's eyes were fixed on his father, and all his father could do was to whisper, Sit still, Teddy. You mustn't move. Teddy, keep still. Then Rikki Tikki came up and cried, Turn round, Nagaina, turn and fight. All in good time, said she, without moving her eyes. I will settle my account with you presently. Look at your friends, Rikki Tikki. They are still and white. They are afraid. They dare not move. And if you come a step nearer, I strike. Look at your eggs, said Rikki Tikki, in the melon bed near the wall. Go and look, Nagaina. The big snake turned half round and saw the egg on the veranda. Ah, give it to me, she said. Rikki Tikki put his paws, one on each side of the egg, and his eyes were blood red. What price for a snake's egg? For a young cobra? For a young king cobra? For the last, the very last of the brood. The ants are eating all the other down by the melon bed. Nagaina spun clear round, forgetting everything for the sake of the one egg. And Rikki Tikki saw Teddy's father shoot out a big hand, catch Teddy by the shoulder, and drag him across the little table with the teacups, safe and out of reach of Nagaina. Tricked, tricked, tricked! Rick, tick, tick, chuckled Rikki Tikki. The boy is safe, and it was I that caught Nag by the hood last night in the bathroom. Then he began to jump up and down, all 4 feet together, his head close to the floor. He threw me to and fro, but he could not shake me off. He was dead before the big man blew him in two. I did it. Rikki Tikki tick tick, come then, Nagaina, come and fight with me. You shall not be a widow long. Nagaina saw that she had lost her chance of killing Teddy, and the egg lay between Rikki Tikki's paws. Give me the egg, Rikki Tikki, give me the last of my eggs, and I will go away and never come back, she said, lowering her hood. Yes, you will go away, and you will never come back, for you will go to the rubbish heap with Nag. Fight, widow. The big man has gone for his gun. Fight! Rikki Tikki was bounding all around Nagaina, keeping just out of reach of a stroke, his little eyes like hot coals. Nagaina gathered herself together and flung out at him. Rikki Tikki jumped up and backward, again and again she struck, and each time her head came with a whack on the matting of the veranda, and she gathered herself together like a watch spring. Then Rikki Tikki danced in a circle to get behind her, and Nagaina spun round to keep her head to his head, so that the rustle of her tail on the matting sounded like dry leaves blown along by the wind. He had forgotten the egg. It still lay on the veranda, and Nagaina came nearer and nearer to it, till at last, while Rikki Tikki was drawing breath, she caught it in her mouth, turned to the veranda steps, and flew like an arrow down the path, with Rikki Tikki behind her. When the cobra runs for her life, she goes like a whiplash flicked across a horse's neck. Rikki Tikki knew that he must catch her, or all the trouble would begin again. She headed straight for the long grass by the thorn bush, and as he was running, Rikki Tikki heard Darcy still singing his foolish little song of triumph. But Darcy's wife was wiser. She flew off her nest as Nagaina came along, and flapped her wings about Nagaina's head. If Darcy had helped, they might have turned her. But Nagaina only lowered her hood and went on. Still, the instant's delay brought Rikki Tikki up to her, and as she plunged into the rat hole where she and Nag used to live, his little white teeth were clenched on her tail, and he went down with her. And very few mongooses, however wise and old they may be, care to follow a cobra in its hole. It was dark in the hole, and Rikki Tikki never knew when it might open out and give Nagaina room to turn and strike at him. He held on savagely and struck out his feet to act as brakes on the dark slope of the hot, moist earth. Then the grass by the mouth of the hole stopped waving, and Darcy said, "It is all over with Rikki Tikki. We must sing his death song. Valiant Rikki Tikki is dead, for Nagaina will surely kill him underground." So he sang a very mournful song that he made up on the spur of the minute. And just as he got to the most touching part of the grass cured again, and Rikki Tikki, covered with dirt, dragged himself out of the hole leg by leg, licking his whiskers. Darcy stopped with a little shout. Rikki Tikki shook some of the dust out of his fur and sneezed. "It is all over," he said. "The widow will never come out again." And the red ants that live between the grass stems heard him and began to troop down one after another to see if he had spoken the truth. Rikki Tikki curled himself up in the grass and slept where he was. He slept and slept till it was late in the afternoon, for he had done a hard day's work. Now he said when he awoke, "I will go back to the house, tell the coppersmith Darcy, and he will tell the garden that Nagaina is dead." Then coppersmith is a bird who makes a noise exactly like the beating of a little hammer on a copper pot. And the other reason he is always making it is because he is the town crier to every Indian garden and tells all the news to everybody who cares to listen. As Rikki Tikki went up the path, he heard his attention nods like a tiny dinner gong, and then the steady dinner dong talk. "Nag is dead, dong. Nagaina is dead, ding dong talk." That set all the birds in the garden singing and the frogs croaking. For Nag and Nagaina used to eat frogs as well as little birds. When Rikki Tikki got to the house, Teddy and Teddy's mother, she still looked very white, for she had been fainting, and Teddy's father came out and almost cried over him. And that night he ate all that was given him till he could eat no more, and went to bed on Teddy's shoulder, where Teddy's mother saw him when she came to look late at night. "He saved our lives and Teddy's life," she said to her husband. "Just think, he saved all our lives." Rikki Tikki woke up with a jump, for all the mongooses are light sleepers. "Oh, it's you," said he. "What are you bothering for? All the cobras are dead, and if they weren't, I'm here." Rikki Tikki had the right to be proud of himself, but he did not grow too proud, and he kept that garden as a mongoose should keep it, with tooth and jump and spring and bite, till never a cobra dares show its head inside the walls. In this story, we could find out that Rikki is a mongoose who lives with Teddy and his family, and Nag, the cobra, is dead. And now his wife Nagaina is trying to take revenge on Teddy's family. So after knowing this, Rikki Tikki Tavi, he got confused and afraid, and now Rikki Tikki Tavi is trying to prevent Nagaina from attacking Teddy and Teddy's family. So Rikki told Darcy to act that he hurt his wing to mislead Nagaina away from the watermelons where her eggs were. Darcy was a bit sad when he heard Rikki's intentions with the eggs because he and his wife lost their children before. Darcy's wife was much smarter, so she lured Nagaina while Rikki destroyed the eggs. There were only 3 left when Darcy's wife told him that Nagaina was inside the house. Rikki broke 2 more eggs and took the third with him. When he came to the house, the family was seated and Nagaina threatened to kill them. Rikki told her that he wants to fight her, but she declined. Then he showed her the last egg. Nagaina was hurt and she moved out, and Teddy's father took advantage of it to save his son. Rikki and Nagaina took their battle outside. Rikki had completely forgotten about the egg, and Nagaina grabbed it and went to her hole. Rikki grabbed her tail and went into her hole with her. Everyone thought that he won't make it alive, and Darcy already started singing a sad song when Rikki went out and said that it was all over. After that, he slept the whole afternoon. The red ants heard him and decided to check whether he was telling the truth. Rikki told Darcy to tell another bird to spread the news about the cobra's death. All of the animals cheered together. Rikki came back into the house where the family waited for him. Teddy's mother was grateful, and that night he could eat whatever he wanted. Later, he slept on Teddy's shoulder when his mother entered the room. He told her not to worry because he will never abandon them. There was never another cobra in the garden came out. Now let's move on to the character analysis. Rikki, Tikki, Tavi. Rikki, Tikki, Tavi is a mongoose. He is the protagonist of the story, which is the main character, often the hero. Rikki, Tikki, Tavi fights off snakes to defend a family he befriends. Teddy is a young boy who finds himself in dangerous situations with wildlife that surrounds his home in India. Teddy's father and mother. Teddy's father, he comes to Rikki Tikki's aid in a dangerous situation. And Teddy's mother, she cares for Rikki Tikki. Nag and Nagaina. Nag is a cobra and one of the antagonists of the story, which is the character who battles the protagonist. Nagaina is a cobra, Nag's wife, and one of the antagonists. She is involved in important battle with Rikki Tikki. Darcy. A tailor bird means a small songbird and Rikki Tikki's friend. Even though Darcy chirps nonsense and annoys Rikki Tikki, he was a key player in the most important battle in the story. Darcy's wife. She is a tailor bird and an ally of Rikki Tikki. She warns Rikki Tikki of danger during the climax. Literary devices. As the setting, we can find out in and around a large bungalow in Seeglovi, India. As the themes, we can find out one basic theme and sub-themes: courage and also loyalty and survival. Courage, the best example is Rikki Tikki Tavi, because he never let his family to be in trouble with Nag and Nagaina. He risked his life to protect his family. That shows his loyalty towards the family. So Rikki Tikki Tavi has these good qualities inside his heart. He is a courageous mongoose and also he is filled with loyalty. And also another sub-theme is survival. Symbolism. Example, Rikki Tikki felt his eyes growing red and hot. So here red and hot symbolizes the anger of Rikki Tikki Tavi. Simile, the matting sounded like dry leaves blown along by the wind. And also for more examples we can find out the coppersmith is a bird who makes a noise exactly like the beating of a little hammer on a copper pot. Onomatopoeia, as he scuttled through the long grass, was rick tick, tick. So as onomatopoeia we can take that example. So what is onomatopoeia? Onomatopoeia is the formation of a word from a sound associated with what is named. So the formation of a word from a sound associated with what is named. And also personification, that means giving human characteristics and thoughts to animals. For the best example is Rikki Tikki. So the writer has used like Rikki Tikki hops. So Kipling, he is giving human characteristics and thoughts to animals here. And as last, visual imagery. So we can visualize many things in our mind when we are reading the story. As an example, he bit off the top of the eggs as fast as he could. And also the watermelon with the 25 eggs, those things we can visualize in our mind. And also the battle between mongoose and naga in outside, we can visualize these things. Now let's move on to the questions regarding the lesson. Question number 1. Who has written the story, The Rikki Tikki Tavi? Number 2. Who are the characters mentioned in the story? What kind of animals are there? So you have to describe what are the characters here, name the characters, and also you have to describe what kind of animals are there. For an example, mongoose. So mongoose has taken as the main character as Rikki Tikki Tavi. And also some tailor birds. Tailor birds means some songbirds. So they are Darcy and Darcy's wife. And other animals are cobras there as Naga and Nagaina. And coppersmith, you can find out more. Number 3, who is the protagonist and the antagonist? Earlier also we already discussed who is the protagonist and who is the antagonist. You have to name them here. And summarize the plot using 50 words. You have to summarize the plot. You have to write a summary of the story using 50 words. Number 5. What are the literary devices that the author has used to build up the story? So when you are writing the literary devices, make sure that you prove them with the examples. And the last question is, what do you feel about the mongoose? And write 3 characteristics of it. You have to write your feelings. What can you feel about this mongoose? And also you have to mention 3 characteristics of this mongoose as well. Okay children, that's the end of our lesson today. So study well until we meet with our next session. Have a nice day all.